Okay. So where were we? Okay, here. So with this vision, potential consequences before countries on 84,000 dramatos. And this to the ears of those to be held. No troubles. Ah, there's something that I forgot. Lekbar checherto. Perfectly and greatly. Yes. And I think, yeah. I don't know how much strange it feels to have the ears in the middle of this sentence.
Because they are not there, the ears.
They are there, but I mean, when you translate, okay. Does it sound strange?
No.
No? Okay, that's good.
Well, please.
Which one again? Sorry, Egyptian?
Here, to resound the 84,000 Dharma doors to the ears of those to be held, or the disciples, to the ears of those to be tamed. Does it sound strange to have the ears in the middle of the sentence? No? Okay, great. I think in French it would sound really strange. It would look like a redundancy, but anyhow. Okay, so
look like
a kind of repetition, saying two times the same thing. Okay, so
in Portuguese we have maybe like the Brazilian, I don't know. This to say or to speak to the ear, near the ear, which gives a kind of intimacy.
Ah, yes.
It's usually something that you speak.
Yes, yeah, but that's not the intention here. Because here it's like greatly resound, make it loud, make it, there's no idea of intimacy at all.
No, here no, but
no. Yeah. So if you introduce this kind of, if keeping the ears introduces this new meaning, you have to consider whether you want to include it or not. If it's worth being literal, if you insert some meaning that is not there. There's something you need to think. Okay, so let's go. Color button to button change with Sanjig ki chadro tambo chadro tambo towards teaching. Okay. And then here for this Jing here again, Kembo said, okay, now we have a sentence that is finished. So it's kind of nice to hear that from his mouth, because usually people will have this idea that Jing is kind of just a connection within the boundaries of a sentence, not between two different sentences. And so I was doing that by my own, but not kind of, I had my reasons, but it's nice to hear from someone else that is kind of, yeah, has more weight than what I would think or say. Okay, you, so speaking still about Manjushri, you the tide how to say that? 江中. Let's see what this say in English. In dictionary. Shackles. Shackles, tide shackles of actions on karma. Let's see afterwards what his explanation is and then decide which one to keep. Which is which throws in the samsara drupa, creates it and binds beings in it. Okay, yes, so here you liberate. Here liberate, Campbell was saying, well, when you talk about something that kind of keeps you tight, then this is something you need to be liberated from, that which you need to get free of. So here's the same. Yes, and here Campbell was making the point that it is not the verb form is on the passive in Tibetan, which means that we could make it in that you make it so that sentient beings are liberated. Are liberated from, yes. So all of this is in addition in order to render the passive voice. And the reason for the passive is that when we talk about liberation from samsara, as Campbell was saying, then it is something that happens by itself. It's not something that someone can come and say, okay, you have something that is matter, I'm going to just cut it off or take it out from you. The samsara must kind of unravel or open up, or the liberation must be a natural process. It's not something that you can control and do it intently on something. And the reason for that reason, Manjushri cannot just come and say, okay, I'm going to liberate you. I'm going to take out all your negative actions from you, or take you now with my hands and put you in the enlightenment. This doesn't work. And the reason is that the negative actions of everyone need to be purified, and that's the only way that liberation can happen. Besides that, there cannot be someone who comes and kind of cleanses all the negative actions of someone. And this also goes together, as Campbell was saying, with this very famous saying that Campbell could not find in the exact sutra or the exact source, but that tells something around the lines of, I have shown you the path to liberation, but now getting there or not is completely up to you, and you have to know that. So you have to know that getting to the liberation or not is completely up to you. So for that reason, Manjushri cannot make an active action of liberating. What he can do is to teach and then let the beings be liberated by themselves. So this is why the verb drol here is on the passive form. And yes, okay. And that was found liberated, what he said. And from the tide shackles.
But could you say, well, he in the passive, like allowing, could you in English say you allow beings to, but you have to add beings because it's not there in the text,
No.
the beings, right?
Beings are up there, not in this part of the sentence. No, there's no beings
So
at
that's
all.
no beings. Oh,
There's
you
no beings.
allow, so. But you could say
Allow
you
them.
allow.
Yeah, it's kind of more or less the same as what I've written, right? You allow beings to be liberated, or you make it so that beings are liberated. It's kind of on both sides, you're adding something. But of course, the way that I put it, make it so that beings are liberated, is not a very nice English. It's kind of rather spoken. Yeah, but it's more or less the idea, yes, to allow something. But then allow has the added idea.
You allow, but the liberation, no,
yes.
the awakening from the make beings implicit in the sentence without. If you put instead of are the
yes.
you allow the liberation, not liberation, how do you say? Awakening, the awakening.
Yeah, liberation. Here we're talking about
the
liberation.
liberation. Okay, it's
yes,
the
yes.
liberation, yeah, in English.
Drl,
okay.
The verb
no, but
drl.
I mean in English, is it liberation, right?
Yes, drl.
So you would allow the liberation from the cycle of samsara actions, karma. Shows in the samsara.
Yeah.
Okay, but in the text, the liberation is in the form of the verb, not in the in the noun, not
drl, to untie, to liberate.
Yeah, it's the this is the one that is in the passive voice. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The thing about allowing is that you have to make do with the idea that you're adding this kind of. Yes, it depends how you put it in English, but allow has, you're giving your permission, you allow it. So you must make sure that you're not bringing this idea. But I think it's possible to do it in English. But yeah, I just try to.
No, I was just trying to. No, but it's okay. It's okay because you would have to change liberated to make it a noun, and that's it. And I was just seeing if it was possible to skip the idea, the inclusion of the beings if it's not there.
Yes, okay, yeah. This is if it's possible, it's okay. Otherwise, if it's implicit anyhow. It's like what for me this kind of thing is like what Geshe was saying in his video. If it is implicit and it is there, and you're not kind of interpreting anything, but it's obvious that it is there and there's no ambiguity about what is there, then adding it is not too bad.
Okay.
It's not like you're adding, you're just making overt what was implicit. That's the only thing you do. It's not like adding some inner interpretation of your own. But yeah, liberated or untie. Are you liberated from the tie check or something? Yes, liberation. Yeah, liberated because we need to have a verb that works both for the metaphor and for the meaning. Both for the sentient beings that are liberated from samsara and for the untying of the shackles. Okay, so liberated might be better for that because of that. Yes. Okay, tight shackles. And so Kembo was saying that it's tight, meaning that it's not something that is just nice and relaxed. And about the shackles, he says that it is the example or the metaphor that is given for the samsaric actions. We'll see that later on what they mean. And Chadro, the words that came to him in English is handcuffs and foot cuffs. I don't know if foot cuff exists, but he said, well, if that existed, then it would be that as well. Because Chadro goes for both what you can put on the feet and on the hands of people. What he was saying is that, of course, the aspect of these shackles nowadays, like the idea that we have when we talk about a handcuff, is something made in metal that is kind of with a special mechanism, etc. So in the past time, well, at the time this praise was written, it might not have been so so elaborate and so exactly. It might not be like the handcuffs that we have today, but it is something that has more or less the same function. Okay. Tie shackles of the samsaric actions. And so here Campbell was saying that these samsaric actions is one of the most important words in this passage. And so when we talk about the actions, Campbell was saying that there are two categories. The actions that bring you down or that make you fall, that is to fall. And those who do not make you fall, zarme, zarche, zarba yoba, zarba meba, zarche zarme. And whatever action that is linked with the three poisons and whatever mental state or mental factors, whether it's the main consciousness or the mental factors, as long as they are linked, they have something to do with the three poisons. And then whatever action that we do from the motivated by a mind which is tainted or has something to do with the three poisons, then this becomes an action that is going to bring you down in the samsara. So samsaric actions. And then on the contrary, the non-samsaric actions are all those actions that will that are, for example, motivated by bodhicitta. And yes, and Campbell was saying that the non-samsaric actions are those which are not realized, the actions that are not realized on the basis of being under the control of negative emotions. So any action that is not done under the control of negative emotions is non-samsaric actions, because the result will be non-samsaric. It will give as a result something that is outside of the samsara. And so making up the distinction, all the samsaric actions or the actions that make you fall, or yes, that drag you down, will throw you without you being able to do anything about it in the samsara. And so they can be said to be throwing you in the samsara, which is one of the actions here that we have signed. It throws you in the samsara. It binds you in the samsara. And yes, and so yes, those that kind of make you forcefully stay in samsara as also these samsaric actions. And the reason for that is that these samsaric actions are either having suffering in themselves or are related to suffering. So any action that is related to suffering, that has something to do with suffering or is suffering, is a samsaric action. Okay, so that was for samsaric actions. I don't know exactly if samsaric action is the right word for that, or if there is a better word that we can find.
Kempo David used for Sakche Sangme, while explaining the Abhidharma, he used the word afflicted action.
Afflicted, okay.
And non-afflicted.
Mm-hmm. Afflicted or afflictive?
Afflicted.
Okay. Okay.
I think.
And why the past tense, afflicted? Did you remember why he said that?
No, I don't remember.
Okay.
Have to go through the notes.
Afflicted karma, afflicted actions. Yes, so from actually here in Tibetan, this kind of, but for me, karma and actions would be good in this context. Because from the Tibetan understanding, then when you're talking about anyhow, it's something that is going to, it's what we understand as karma, but karma has the meaning of action as well in Tibetan. So
yeah, I think it was afflicted because under the afflictions.
Okay.
In that sense, done under the afflictions.
Okay.
In Portuguese, it's common to say afflictive.
Afflictive.
Afflitivas. Yes.
Afflictivas. Yeah.
Same in Spanish. Afflictivas.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So afflictive, or it means that will bring affliction, right? Yeah.
And sometimes people, I don't know so much in more orthodox translations, but sometimes people use also conflictive.
Conflictive. Yes.
In the sense, because they always bring some kind of conflict, right?
Yeah, but I think this is.
But this is
for
already
another,
some.
Yes. It's like conflictive actions or conflicted emotions.
More like emotions, yes.
Emotions,
not the actions.
Yeah.
No.
Not the actions.
No, emotions. Sorry.
Yeah.
You see, I see Khenpo Devi use afflictive obscurations, for example, but afflicted dharmas and afflicted actions.
Afflicted actions. I would say that if I stay together with the Tibetan, zakje, zak is the idea to fall. So it is the action that makes you fall, that brings something disagreeable. So from that point of view, afflictive would stay more to the literal meaning of the word itself. But looking at Khenpo's explanation, it comes from the affective emotions. So it is an action that is motivated by an afflictive emotion. And so from that point of view, you can understand that it's an action that is afflicted. But at the same time, I don't know. It's kind of really, I'm just making a lot of hypotheses. But can an action be afflicted? The mind of a person can be afflicted.
Yes, it's not so much. It's not so much the action, but the emotion, right? It's the emotion that generates the affliction of the action.
Yes.
If someone has anger, then produces an action of the result of that anger. So it's not the action that is afflictive, but the emotion.
Yeah. No, but I mean, my question was about afflicted, because afflicted means the one who is kind of victim of the affliction.
No.
It could also mean that it is like an afflicted action could be just an action that contains affliction.
Afflicted.
The value of the participle, I don't know how you pronounce in English. It's adjectival. So when you say afflicted, you are saying that is afflicted with the affliction.
I think it's very, very, very similar.
It has an adjectival value. Like the other day, we were talking about the value of adjectives that become nouns. The value of the adjective becomes a value, or the adjective becomes gains the value of the noun.
Yes. If you look at, for example, heated water, then it means that the water is heated, has undergone the action of heating, heated water.
But the water is still hot.
It is still hot. Yes.
Yeah,
it is hot. Of course, it is hot. But when you say heated water, the meaning, kind of the nuance of meaning that we are bringing is the fact that it was heated. So it went under the action of being heated, right? Heated water. Because you could say as well, just hot water in this case. Or,
it just it just brings that up, but like in a sentence, it wouldn't change really the meaning. Like I got burned with hot water, or I got burned with heated water.
yes, yeah.
Would
yeah.
it really?
No. Yeah. It's really a small nuance. But here we're talking about this kind of small nuance. Let me try to find another example. I don't know. Yes, I don't know. A burnt piece of bread.
Burnt?
Burnt piece of bread. I don't know.
Like what would be?
But there's no if for the burn.
The adjective for burning.
Burning would be, but that's too different.
Burnt.
It's different to what we were talking about.
Yeah.
No, but
burnt to burning, that's
participle, right? Not burning, burnt.
Yeah. Burnt
piece of bread, or like I don't know. Cooked bread. It means that again, cooked bread. It's a bread or cooked cake. Cake that when undergone the process of being cooked.
Yes. So it characterizes the
okay. So
the cake, and it's being cooked. So it characterizes it. It's like it has a value of a kind of an adjective.
Yes. Okay. So now coming back to here, afflicted karma, or afflicted action, an action that has undergone the process of being afflicted.
I do agree with you, Drupshan, that when it's afflictive, it does have a little bit more of a sound of that it's about to do something, more than that it's charged with something. So I agree with you that the afflictive might go a little bit more in the afflicted action, that once you do it, then something happens, right?
Yeah, but actually, yes, and what I was saying is that if you take the literal meaning of zakje in this context, then zakje is I think it would be more afflictive. But at the same time, when we look at the Kempo's explanation of what this actually means, afflicted is fine as well. So it's which one you want to choose, whether you want to put the focus on the explanation, the meaning behind the word, or the word itself.
And actually, I don't know in what context I heard the afflicted, but I opened my notes and Zakche Geshe, Sagme Geshe, and actually he talks about defiled and undefiled, which is another word.
Zakche and Zame. Geshe means detailed explanation, right?
Yeah. Zakche and Sagme,
yes.
here he talks about defiled and undefiled.
Yes, because the defiled and the undefiled. This is another kind of subject of another chapter of the Abhidharma.
But it's the same word, Zakche Sagme.
Same word, yes. Yeah. Yeah. The defiled and the undefiled. I think that in this context, then, in order to make a noun from the verb, the afflictive kind of doesn't work so well. So the afflicted sounds more natural. It seems to me, I don't know. Yeah. But anyhow, now you saw what choice that we can have from that, afflicted action, non-afflicted actions, okay? Which throws you in samsara, creates it and binds beings in it. Okay, so now the samsara correlates, okay? Throws is pain, is like the verb that we usually use for arrows. You throw an arrow, or you throw a stone or anything. That's kind of easy. And then here, creating the samsara. What Kempo says was that it makes it so that the samsara can become itself. Yes. And so make it so that samsara can become samsara is creating the samsara. So it's not that it will kind of build up walls and something like that, but it will the exact expression of Kempo is the essence of what constitutes the samsara is going to be allowed to exist, to become. And what does that is, yes, and the way that samsara can be created or can be allowed to start existing is starting from the negative emotions like attachment and the three poisons. And so they are going to be found in the mind and in the mental factors of someone. And so when the mind of someone is linked or is kind of tainted by these negative emotions, that person is going to accumulate actions, to do actions, and these actions in turn will create the samsara, will make the samsara become itself. That's after the actions are giving their results, that the samsara, being this space where there is only suffering, becomes itself, becomes the real samsara, the real thing. And so, yes, so actually the real action that is done is the accumulation of the actions, of the negative actions. And besides that, there's no one who can kind of build the samsara like if it was a house. So it is, on the one side, the beings do the actions, and because of that, by itself, samsara will be created or will become itself. And from the moment that we have accumulated such actions and then we reach the result, then the only solution that we have is to be born somewhere in between the very top of the samsara and the lowest, the unbearable hell. And that's what is understood by creating samsara. Or in order to have the same thing but from a different angle, we could say that what created samsara is the way samsara is created is through the 12 links of interdependent origination, starting from the ignorance, etc., and going until the old age and death and all the sufferings. And so it is through these 12 links, we can say that it's true from the ignorance until the sufferings that samsara is created. And yes, and so it is true, like in the interdependent links. From the negative emotions, we have actions which make us be reborn in samsara. So that is for creating samsara. That's what is meant here. Creates it and binds being in it. So it is simply holding tight, making it, yes, damshaba, to tighten someone and to make him stay somewhere. And so out of these three images that the author of the commentary is giving, Kempo was saying that the one that would fit the best for the metaphor that is given in the root text, chadro, so the shackles, is the last one of the three examples, which is to bind, which binds beings in it. Yes. And so, yes, and qing means, like Kempo said in English, to hold, and to hold tight, to make tight something. Okay. Next sentence. Gopala. Oh, chamber. Exhibitor. Probably to make you. Yes. So actually, yeah, I think we have to put a comma here for this next bit. And you, yes, give the courage. To reach the level of liberation and omniscience. Okay, so here Campbell is understanding Ujimba as to give the courage to do something. And so let's see what the dictionary has to say, if it's that or not, because I understand it in a different way. Just want to make sure. Awareness to relieve. Ujimba. To relieve. Yeah, I think I'm going to ask Campbell this question because to give the courage to do something is something quite different from liberating the shackles and then bringing the relief of the level of liberation and omniscience, the relief from suffering. So if I keep his understanding, I'm obliged to kind of insert to reach the level of liberation and omniscience. So I'm going to insert a comment and put that definition. Oh, sorry. Okay. Give the courage or give relief. Literally, it would go rather towards relieving because uk is the breath and jin is to give. So when you give breath to someone who was not able to breathe because of being suffering or something, then you're kind of relieving. That goes in the literal. But sometimes,
but it's not relief as in the sense of like, oh, so nice, or like it's more the relief. It's more as in like taking something that was wrong away, or how? Like I guess I don't understand the word relief that well.
Not the relief here. Actually, when you relieve, you had something that was bothering you, and when you take it out, you're relieved, right?
Oh, I see.
To find relief or to be comforted, confirmation, relief is was. And here in Tibetan, it is to kind of, yeah, to give some, yeah, when someone is sad, then you help him to overcome this sadness by saying things that are nice. This is the first meaning. And the second one is, yes, to relieve or to do that for beings who are tormented by suffering. And so you're relieving them with nice stories or nice news or things that you say to them. So it seems to be that's the meaning of the dictionary, at least. And yes, what the Campbell was saying is like to give the courage, or yes, to give the courage, or yes, And so this is the result of having relieved someone. Someone is trying to do something, is not able, is completely blocked. Then you relieve that person, and then because of having relieved the person, has the courage once again to continue doing what she was doing. So it could be understood in that way. So I'm going to check with him what he actually means. Okay, and yes. Yes. And so here I'm going to, yeah, like you see, the sentence ends with cher, which is because of that. So either I could write because of that here at the beginning of the sentence, because of you making it so that, etc., etc., then something else. Or I can keep this because of that at the end, at the beginning of the next sentence, and say for that reason. So you do something, for that reason, something else happens. Here it seems better to put it in that way. And okay, yes, and Kempo actually about this chair here, he says that sometimes you can use chair as like when you bring an argument, you say this is white because it is made of, I don't know, charcoal, because it is something. So then you're bringing a reason for something that you had said before. So the chair is looking backwards. But this one here, like Kimbo was saying, is looking in front because it's going to explain, yes, and it's going forward and it's going to, what has said before is going to explain what is going to follow after. And so Kimbo understands as something like therefore, like he puts it here, for that reason. Okay. So then you give the courage, or you bring relief, bring the relief. Yes, I have to make two distinct sentences. Reach you bring the relief of the level of liberation and omniscience. Okay, so here I bring the relief, Ujimbo, we have seen that, of the level of liberation. Liberation here, Kembo saying it is like at the level of the arhats, which are outside of samsara. So liberation is everything that is outside of samsara. And because of that, it can also, in some contexts, mean a full enlightenment, because full enlightenment is also out of samsara, but it's not only that. And here, namken ki kopang. So omniscience. Yes, and so namken. Yes, what Kempo was saying is that this liberation of the arhats, or the arhats, is on the one side, it's true that it's liberated from samsara, but it falls in the extreme of peace. So it is not the ultimate result. And so that is why this is a lesser result. And then the second one is omniscience. And here, the level of omniscience is a synonym for the level of Buddhahood, Sangye Gopang. And the reason why we talk about omniscience, or literally in Tibetan Namken, so it is knowing all the aspects, Namba, Tamchi, Kemba. And the reason for that is that when you reach the level of Buddhahood, then you can apprehend, or you can know directly all the phenomena that can be known in all their aspects in a single instant. So it is because of, yeah, it's putting the focus of that side of the qualities of Buddha that we talk about omniscience. Okay. Yes, okay. So that, yeah, we have seen everything that he has said from that. Niki. Yena. Sangi. Tanjiki. Can be more shirajiranji. Nambe. Tanda. Yang. Yede. Tanda yang yedes. For that reason, yes, 51. So better make the pause now. Okay, see you in 10 minutes.
See you guys in 10.
So Niki Yenas. 천둥이 this. Western camping or nature of the knowledge of all the Buddhas. Yes. Okay, so here we ended by for that reason. And if I'm staying literal, Chende Yang Yotes, Chen is like Campbell was saying, is to express or to represent. And Den is the meaning. So Chende Ye means there's a reason for there's meaning in the fact that you hold in your right hand this and that. Yes, no, it's not really meaningful. It is. Here is the meaning. So I think the best would be to make two different sentences. Okay, for that reason, you hold in your right hand the word, okay. Here's what it represents or symbolizes. Okay, so you hold in your right hand, number hold can be denoted command, and then in your right. So the in the commentary itself, you only have yena, yela, na is ladun, nigi yena. So in your right, and Campbell was saying that we have to. It's the meaning is obviously in your right hand, but the word hand is not in the text of the commentary. So yes, here in the literal translation, I keep the hand in the square brackets to show that it's an addition. But I think that, as Campbell was saying, that it is understood that we are talking about his right hand and not just his right. Then in the well-written translation, the communicative version, then you can just add it without brackets. And I think this comes from the habit of the author to deal with descriptions of sadhanas where you have in your right, you have this, in your left, you have that. And then because of having so much things to put into verses, and then just saying the right and just saying the left is enough for people to understand that we're talking about the hand and not the feet or just the left side. Yes, so that may be why. So it's fine here. And so here I still have this problem about knowing or knowledge. Campbell was saying it's the knowledge, nature of the. So yes, so if you said nature of the knowledge of all the Buddhas, then it looks like it's some inanimate thing that someone has in his mind. It's like the ideas that someone has in his mind, or the knowledge of something. But here it's really not what it means. So I think that, yeah, I think in this kind of context, I would rather see the wisdom of all the Buddhas instead of the knowledge of all the Buddhas, even though it's kind of, we are shifting from the actual words in the commentary to another one. So we're shifting from Kempa to Yeshe. So there is a connotation that we're missing if we choose wisdom. But I don't know how to get rid of that problem with knowledge. So if you find a solution, then it's most welcome. And otherwise, then we're kind of losing a bit of the original text, putting wisdom. Okay, keeping on the sword, about the word sword itself. In Tibetan, it's just like a large or a big knife. And I don't think there's this distinction between sword and knife. Whether it's big or not big for Tibetan, it's still a knife, because it's still something that cuts. Okay.
Hey, Drupchen, just
yes.
Quickly, could you just quickly go over the difference between the words for knowledge and wisdom in Tibetan? Just the difference.
Yes. So Khenpa is the nominalized form of Ken, which is the honorific of Shepa, which is to know. So it is referring to the knowing part of the minds of the Buddhas. So the fact that the Buddhas know everything. So it's the kind of the active process of knowing something. This is Khenpa. And if we just put knowledge, then it looks like it is the object of that knowing.
Yeah.
What is known.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't work. Putting that has nature of the knowing of all the Buddhas also does not work. If we put the mind of all the Buddhas, we go even further than wisdom.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really know what to do.
But what is your problem with the knowing?
I don't know if
it sounds very weird. The knowing of all the Buddhas.
Yes. Yeah.
Actually, the Theravada, they use the knowing.
So it has become a technical term.
But the sword of the wisdom, because we have already wisdom, right?
Yes.
So we know that is the sword of wisdom. And then there's the nature of the knowing or the knowledge. So there's no need to repeat the wisdom, because we know that this knowledge is imbued with wisdom.
This is your choice. If you find that knowing is fine in English or in Portuguese.
No, I'm just sticking to the fact that we already have the sword of wisdom.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
What even I mean, if we after this, if we had knowledge, or if we have seeing or something like that, we would already know that this would be imbued with wisdom.
So this is something else that we could do.
And of all the
nature of the
Buddhas.
knowing aspects of all the Buddhas.
So
Yes, of all the Buddhas. Yeah. Yes. So if you want to keep knowing, then okay. The knowing side, the knowing aspect, or the knowing, yeah. Yeah, Katarina, you think that it works if we say that it is the sword of wisdom that has the nature of the
I'm just saying that because we know
Yes.
that Manjushri has a sword of wisdom.
Yes, yeah, it is a repetition. I agree with that.
If we put knowledge after that, and we are stating that it is shared by all the Buddhas, I mean, there's no doubt that this knowledge is imbued with wisdom and compassion, whatever you want to put it there.
Not, yeah.
There's no doubt that the wisdom is already there.
Yes.
Yeah, but at the same time, the word knowledge itself doesn't hit that.
It's that aspect. Yeah, it's kind of this nuance of meaning that you kind of. It's like if you put just wisdom, then it becomes very standard. Then you can lose this idea that it is the knowing aspect of the mind of all the Buddhas that we are talking about. It's just the wisdom. It has become, it's kind of overrated, so much used in the term wisdom, then you cannot see that. And the Tibetan has, the author of the Tibetan has made a special kind of effort to use Khenpa instead of just Yeshe. He could have put Sangye Tanchegi Yeshe Gingo. And I guess in other texts, you'll find that same expression exactly with Yeshe in this place. So of course, putting wisdom and making an artificial repetition is something bad. So that's why I'm trying to find a way out of it. But knowledge, if you keep just knowledge alone, then you have this.
At least for the literal version, at least for the literal version, I really like knowing aspect of the mind.
Yeah. Yeah. But and like usually the solutions that I find the most elegant are the ones that are the shortest, that add the least number of words. And this obviously is not doing that.
Knowing aspect of a mind with the nature, it's difficult to translate.
Maybe one solution would be to come back to the Sanskrit, the nature of the prajna of all the Buddhas.
Prajna, I think it's Yeshe, right?
But prajna is
Sherab is not.
Prajna or Sherab, yes,
Sherab. It's not prajna there. No, it's not Sherab there.
No.
Because that would be wisdom, no?
Yeah, intelligence or wisdom, yes.
What about just the knowing aspect of all the Buddhas?
Yeah, the knowing aspect of all the Buddhas. Yes.
You don't really have to put of the mind of.
Yes. Nature of the knowing aspects of all the Buddhas.
There's the nature of the
it could be as well.
Of all the Buddhas. In Sanskrit, it's also it's a nice kind of easy exit. It's nice.
Yes. Jnana Khenpa, Jnana Janati Prime, Janati. There's not something different. Negi, Janati. Yeah, so we find the root of jnana from the same as Yeshe. Prajna. Yes, prajna is rab. You have this idea of completely with pra. Prajna, jnanam, shepa. Yeah, jnanam. Yeah, so it's jnana of all the Buddhas rather than prajna. Well, I leave it to you, the hard choice to do.
But here is Khenpa.
Khenpa, yes. And Khenpa is just the honorific of Shepa.
Which is the knowledge.
Which is here, what we have. Shepa is to know, simply to know.
Yes.
Like, I know something. And the Sanskrit equivalent seems to be jnana. So this negi here is kind of sometimes interesting to see because it is a half it is kind of the compilation of all the words and the equivalent that can be found in existing Sanskrit texts and sutras and their translation in Tibetan, and half of it is a reconstruction from the Tibetan sutras that were lost in Sanskrit. It's work that has been done for many decades in Varanasi University. It's a huge dictionary. Yeah. So yeah, jnana, or the wisdom. So yeah. So if jnana, then we come back to wisdom. But it's true that we are kind of on purpose making something that's not so transparent, so that the reader knows there's something special behind it. Okay. Then I'm going to the next part. Quando della tene sungicine te sinjin tanjigi nelu sinjin tanjigi nelu 통을 제발라 tri비나당 나일 zembe maribinen ba kan salwars chejing. So, like we have said before, as said before, I think it's better. Said before, quando si parla kense della tenes, you yes, okay. Your enlightened activity of speech, sungachine, speech, sungachine, sawajijing, dissipates the darkness of the ignorance of clinging to the I and clinging to I and to mine, and that obscures the perception of the nature nilu, the ultimate nature of it. The ultimate nature said before, true. I'm going to show what I can say. Delatenes, true. The Kense, wisdom and truth. Wisdom, love, your enlightened activity of your enlightened, enlightened activity of your speech, discipline, darkness of innocent king, mind, discourse, present. All sentient beings from seeing. Yeah. Okay. That's good. Okay, so as said before, I'm going to share with others through your knowing wisdom. And so here, Kempo actually brought the two terms that we were discussing right now together. He says, Kembe Yeshi, the wisdom that knows. So here we really see that the focus is, for Kempa, the focus is on the aspect of knowing. So there, so it is the part of the wisdom that knows, that apprehends things. This is for Kempa. So no, here we're coming back to these two qualities of Manjushri, qualities of knowing, qualities of love, Kenze. And then he made this Kembe Yeshe, so the wisdom that knows and the quality of love. Kembe Yeshe Tsewen Yonten.
And that's with Kien Yin, right?
Kenze.
Kense. Oh, yeah, of course. Okay, Kense.
Yeah. And then he said that when we bring those two qualities together, then we have Kense, the wisdom that knows and the qualities of love. Then we have Kense. Okay. So here again, I don't know what to choose for this knowing, through your knowing or through your wisdom. De la tene, so through your sungichinle. So here it is the enlightened activity of your speech, or the activity of your speech. Yes, and so here the speech that we are talking about is the one that we have described above when we were talking about the 60 aspects or parts of the voice of Brahma, the meditative voice of Brahma. So here this speech is the one that possesses the 60 60 parts of the melody. And activity of speech dissipates. So here from dissipates, Campbell is saying that it is yes, and so to dissipate this ignorance is the activity of the speech of Manjushri. Thinking this, yeah, and then okay, because ignorance is to be dissipated. Okay, so dissipates the darkness. Yes, and so darkness here is used as the metaphor for the ignorance. That's what Kimball was saying again. And ignorance itself is, once again, the fact of not seeing things how they are. And it is because this way of perceiving is under is tainted by delusion, that it is not knowing or ignorance. Maribra. And so here this Campbell was making playing with the words Maribra, which is the noun, ignorance, and the verb rikba, which means to see. So it is because of being under the delusion that you do not see things properly, and so because of that you have this ignorance. Okay, and darkness of ignorance of clinging to the I and mine. Yes, and so Campbell was saying for the I, Campbell was saying that it is this, what we refer to when you say, oh, this is me, or I am this. And about the mine, it is my object, it is my this, my that. So these two types of clinging. That obscures, and here obscuring can be understood in the sense of making an obstacle for seeing properly. All sentient beings, okay. Sentient Tamchi Kis, yeah. And so here there's a problem in the Tibetan. Campbell says that, yes, here you see that Sentient Tamchi Ki, Kayataki Ki, and so this is the genitive, it's the connecting particle, not the subject particle. And Campbell was saying that even though in the original text, which is the one that we have, not here, but here. Sentient Tamchi Ki. Okay. So we see here, and that is Kayataki Yogi, Sanjan Tanji Ki, there's no Sa. But Campbell is saying that even though there is no Sa, so it seems to be the connecting particle, it does not make sense in Tibetan to make them to say that it is the nature of all sentient beings. Because what we are talking about here, the nature here is the ultimate, the nature that needs to be seen or needs to be realized, and that is the nature of all phenomena. So the ultimate nature. And so because of the meaning being obviously not the nature of only sentient beings, that Campbell prefers to think that there's a copying error here, and there should be it should be there's a sub missing here. I'll put it like that so we can see it. Okay. And so if we understand it in that way, the action that all sentient beings are doing is seeing the ultimate nature. And then that makes more sense.
Drupchen, your word for obscures, would it be all right to use like obstructs or something like that? Or does it literally mean like obscures as in darkness?
I think it's kind of both. Let's see what the dictionary says. Obstruct, define, obstruction, defilements. And then the Tibetan dictionary, what does it say? Maybe I need to see Dripa. I don't have, yeah, here. Dripa, Yoban, Kebas. So Dripa, here it's the first meaning, the first exception is to recover something, to cover something. The second one is kept on your yeah, it is the noun, the cover itself, instead of covering the cover itself. Yeah. Yeah, so obstructs can be good, yeah, obstruct. Yeah. Obstructs, yeah. The reason why I didn't think so much about this is because usually when we have drip, we think about obscuration.
Yeah, for me it just worked that way better in Spanish. So that's why I asked.
That's good. Yeah, great. Found a better solution for my translation. Okay, Mbakun.
In the long life prayers
Yes.
for Jigme Khyentse Rinpoche, and I think Dzongzar Khyentse Rinpoche, the choice of the Portuguese version in the collection of practices is wisdom and love. Wisdom
and love. Okay.
Sabedoria e amor. Actually, these long life prayers was written in another way, and in the last version of the collection of prayers, they decided to put this wisdom and love. Yeah. I don't know about you, Spanish version and French version.
The English one too.
Yeah.
English, I have an old one, but I suppose it will be from the.
But the one
it has a long. It is.
But it says, does it say Khyentse, the one that Tulku Rinpoche wrote for Jigme Khyentse not so long ago?
No, I think it's the one that was written by Trish Rinpoche.
No, but there's not. Does the new one also have Khyentse? Let me check.
Oh, we had because in the old one, which is the one that I have here with the English version, they didn't have wisdom and love. They had the prophesied display of Khyentse. They didn't have wisdom and love. I actually noticed that when I bought the new version of the Portuguese.
The new one doesn't say.
The new one says
Khyentse, but it's the Khyentse
wisdom
tradition.
and love in Portuguese. Uses the two words in Portuguese: sabedoria e amor. While the English version that I have here, it said prophesied display of Khyentse. Doesn't use these words. And
yeah. And the one
so
that
it was a choice. It was a recent choice to
put it in Portuguese.
To put these two words, which actually are the translation for Khyentse, all right, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. But here you see that the translators have come in front of the same problem, and they didn't find anything better than wisdom.
Yeah.
It's not that it's a good solution; it's just the least worst that we can find.
Yeah. Just mentioning because we are dealing with that.
Yes.
Actually, when I saw that immediately because I thought it was because they use the word the dance, while the word in English is display, right? But display of Khyentse. But in Portuguese they decided the dance of wisdom and love.
Yeah, this is something else. Yeah, it must be another word. Okay, so yes, obstruct. I'm thinking again about this verb obscures. Yeah. Here the word drip is applied to, it's like it applies to both the metaphor, which is the darkness, and the ignorance. So in Spanish, what would you use for darkness? Is darkness obscuring or obstructing?
No, darkness is obscuring, so it would be oscuridad. Right, Nara?
Darkness wouldn't obstruct.
So you're thinking it goes more with obscures?
Because here it's kind of the meaning is ignorance, but the metaphor that is used is the darkness. And we are saying that the darkness is preventing people from seeing things.
So
And
Nara,
the meaning that the ignorance
sorry.
prevents people from seeing nature. Yeah. Yes, sorry, please.
So Nara, would you say la oscuridad de la ignorancia, lo que sea, oscurece a los seres sintientes? ¿No suena raro?
Sí.
Por eso yo lo cambié a obstruye, que es hace que la oscuridad obstruye. Yeah, it sounds a little strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's something that we have to figure out.
Yeah, maybe find a synonym or something.
Yes, there are synonyms.
Tal vez le oscurece a los seres sintientes el ver. That's still... Well, anyway, that's something you just have to do.
The idea also of concealing, because obscures, it's the direct word, and then this maybe some synonym that it's very close, because something that is in between or that shades, it covers something, right? It covers because also the darkness covers something.
Mm-hmm.
The most direct is obscure, but conceals or covers. We also use in weather when the clouds cover the sun. We use in Portuguese encobrir, which is cover. It's encobrir. I don't know if in Spanish you have. How do you say this?
Cubrir.
But then it's another meaning. It's a different meaning. It's not turning anything dark. It's covering.
It would be, yeah, the word here in English would be that covers.
Yes, but it's the direct one is obscure, but then the idea of something which conceals also can be applied to.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to use synonyms which are close.
Drip actually means something that prevents from seeing. It's not making obscure.
So, sorry, one more time, Juchen.
Prevents.
Yeah, drip is to prevent from seeing. To prevent from seeing. It's in the word obscure.
Oh, but prevent from seeing could also be obstruct.
Impide.
Yes.
Impide.
Impide. Yeah,
but
impedes. It literally impedes.
But if you have obstruct, then you have the idea of something that is material.
Yeah.
Like it's obstructing. It's kind of, it's not an action of seeing or not seeing when you say obstruct.
Impide might be good because it doesn't have that. ¿Cómo, Nara?
Obstaculiza, dificulta.
Obstaculiza. Wow, I don't know.
And the Spanish is really funny. Obstaculita. It's
no, but
funny.
That is, I don't know if that's just Spain Spanish, but that sounds strange, a little bit strange to me. Is it strange in Spain, Nara, to say obstaculiza?
No.
Is it not strange?
No. No obstaculizar el paso. Se utiliza mucho.
Really? That's the first time anybody in Mexico has ever heard that. That's cool. That's weird. Obstaculiza.
Jipa is a noun or a verb, Druchen?
Verb.
It's a verb.
Yeah, it's a verb because we have the sentient beings who are doing that action.
Ah, yeah.
No, the action of sentient beings is to see. But it is preventing or making an obstacle for them to see. So it is used as a verb here. So it's used as a verb, and then after it's nominalized in the next sentence to say that it is the clinging to I and mind which is the obstacle to, or what prevents them from seeing. Not amazed symbols. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But actually, you were speaking about the question of the sight, and I think that from the Latin, don't know about the other ones. Our words relating to eyes come to also use ocul. There's a spectacle, which is vision, right? Specta. But I think ocultar, to conceal, right, in English, I think it's in the translation, right? Ocultar, conceal, right? But I think ocultar comes from the Latin root that has to do something with the eyes. But yeah, because you have the other words also with this idea of ocu. So, but in English, yes, it's different. Conceal or hide eyes, it's also the same.
Actually, to occult is a verb in English, and it means to cut off from view by interposing something.
But in Portuguese, we use ocultar in the sense of hiding. Also, it's you hide something from something. Yeah. But anyway, I just was referring to the question that it also has to do with the eyes, with the sight, yes, with the view.
The sight, yeah. Okay, yeah, so I have gone through all the explanation of the Kempo. For this week. How much time do we still have? It looks like this occult should be the closest English equivalent to drip, because
which
shutting
one?
off occult, but it has this bad connotation of the occult sciences and all these things.
Yeah.
So it's kind of not the choice that we can make, but looking at the meaning of dictionary, it looks the closest to shut off from view or exposure.
I'm still a little bit uncomfortable with that obscures the ultimate nature.
Yes.
As a complément d'objet direct. I can see it. The darkness obscures the ultimate nature, but the obscure from seeing the ultimate nature. Can we use it like that? Because in Spanish, I would know it either obscures something or prevents from seeing the ultimate nature.
Yeah. The original 통월 제발라 dribe. Yes. Prevents. Yeah, if you just say prevent, then you lose this idea that this is something that is covering, and that's it's just not allows to.
Yeah.
But it fits better. It's true. In the sentence. Yeah, the thing is that we have this
obscures the vision. I don't know why obscures from seeing. I don't. Is it correct?
Obscures from seeing.
Obscures the vision. No, it's not obscures the vision.
The seeing or the seeing.
No. No, then I would prefer to say that prevents the ability of sentient beings to see the ultimate nature.
Okay, yeah.
In Portuguese, I put obscures all sentient beings and prevents from seeing the ultimate nature.
Ah, yes, okay. Yeah.
In the literal.
Yeah, because you're right, Narali. Obscures all sentient beings from seeing does sound a little weird.
Yes.
But in the literal, I would keep obscures because that's what is there. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a technical term that has a lot of meaning behind. We cannot just leave it out. Ah, yes, and then for those who do not see, maybe dissipates all the darkness. At the beginning, I didn't put all, but it is in Tibetan. Même pas qu'une, même pas tsangma.
Thanks.
It is for this kind of things that I would not have any doubt and just translate it just in the way that I have done now in French. And so that's most probably for this kind of thing that people say that my translations are not French. But they're Tibetan put into French words.
There is a sentence that we have done before.
Yes.
Let me see. It's the one in page 20.
Yes.
Because of this.
Yeah.
So we are relating to what was before. And then we have since. Then you have the sentence. And then you put comma there. And then like what example. It's not that it's impossible to write, but it becomes a bit strange because I putting since. It has to have the result of this since. And then we have like what example. So can we?
Yes, actually, I think that
we-
this is what Campbell was saying here. This because of this, I mean, this since. Okay. Let me see what it is here. Della tenne, because of this, the since actually is explaining something that was said before. Here, so it's a bad translation.
The problem is only that you continue like what example, and that makes it's a difficult task to.
Yes, no, I understand. Actually, you're right saying that if you have since, there must since something, then something else.
Then something. Yeah.
Yes. So here, this second something else is lacking. Let me read it once again. Yes, I think actually this is mistranslation of me, and this context is the same as the chair that Kempo says that was looking forward, not backwards. And so the sin should be taken out here and put. So because of this, you have the compassion of very strongly loving all the ensembles, all the assembly of sentient beings.
Then we could put a full stop, no? And then what would be the example?
Let me try to think without losing this link that actually what this chair is saying is that you have this love, you have the strong love of all sentient beings, and then because of you having that, we can use an example, and that example is in the same way that a mother has no more than only one child. So there is a link that this chair is making. It's saying, okay, you have this great love for sentient beings, and then because of that, then we can put this, use a metaphor for the love that you have, and this will be then what comes next down here. So now the challenge is to keep this meaning of, because of you having that, then we can use that metaphor. For that, maybe you have better ideas. Because of this, you have the compassion, yes. And so, but its place is, it's not since, you're completely right. So it's because of this, you have the compassion of utterly strongly all the assemblies of sentient beings. And since we're talking about all, it should be the plural, all the assemblies of sentient beings without exception, who are oppressed by the three sufferings. Okay. So maybe we can put, so here is, here's an example. It can be exemplified.
Exemplified, that's what I use in
Or,
Portuguese. Yes. What could exemplify it?
Illustrate it in the following way. Then kind of taking out this rhetoric question and answer and just going straight for the answer. And so if you do that, then we can use this so to make the link between the love that he has for sentient beings and the example of the mother who has an only child. So, or maybe therefore, Yes, and actually, therefore, is what Campbell was saying himself. You're saying this chair here is to be understood, therefore, we should see where it is, what he said. Okay. Yes, here. You have the chair, then he says therefore. Yes, that looks better. Ah, yes, and then we have to put the bold in the last part that we have seen. Okay. Lecture 特最近 叫做 Mensel cell. And actually, I just see that this obscure prevent thing is the one that is in the root text. So can someone check the translation of the just the praise to see how they translated that word?
What word you wanted to see?
Obscures or prevents.
But in the
Yeah, it is it's just before the sprouts of suffering. Or just after the shackles. Dungal.
Não acerto.
Dungal.